Welcome back to Onshape. We'll be continuing activity 1.3.4. The first thing we need to do is to move this pentagon over here so that it's vertical over this point and half an inch above it. Let's go ahead and try to move it so that it's vertical. We'll click on the center and the line. It seems that everything's gone red. This means there's an error. In fact, it says the sketch could not be solved. Something is preventing it from being vertical. So we'll close that and hit undo. Okay, we're blue and happy again. Well, the reason this can't move over is because there's constraints here that are implicit, meaning as we created it, some of these constraints were added. Let's zoom in on the shape. First, let's select the center. I see there are constraints here that I can move around. When I select the constraint, it tells me the center of the circle that's inscribed in the shape is connected to the line. Well, I want it to have a pattern, but I don't want it to be connected any longer. So I'll select this and delete it. I can delete it by hitting the backspace or delete key. Well, let's try to move it now. It didn't quite let me let loose. I notice down here we have another constraint. It's the same one. It's coincidental between this point and the line. So I'll select the constraint and remove it. I want to zoom out again. Now I'll use Control and right click to pan. And I want to make these vertically aligned now. Now they're vertically aligned, and I need this line to be horizontal. So I'll select it with the horizontal constraint. So far, these are working. Now let's try our dimension. We'll do center to point, and we need this to be 0.5 inches. So this is now in the correct position. The next thing we need to do is ensure that this is 0.5 inches away from the top. So let's select the center and the line, and we'll make sure that we are 0.5 inches. This is now in the correct position. But we also need this to be parallel to the top line. So let's zoom in on the shape. Choose the parallel constraint. Choose the top line and this edge. Now they're parallel, and we'll escape the constraint. We also want to make sure that the center of the hexagon is coincidental with this line. If we select the center, we'll see the constraints that are applied, and we can see that it's already coincidental with the line. So we don't need to add any additional constraints. The final thing we need to do is come down to the triangle. We need to make sure that this vertex is coincidental with this point. So we'll choose the coincidental constraint, click on the edge of the triangle, and then this point. It gives us an error. Similar to what we've seen before, that means there's a constraint that we're not aware of. Let's see what constraints we may have. We have a coincidental constraint here, and we have a coincidental constraint here. This coincidental constraint could be interfering, so we can remove it. We'll select the constraint and then hit backspace or delete. Now let's try to merge these again. Choose the constraint, the point, and the vertex. It moves just fine that time. We also want to make sure that this is coincidental with the line. So we'll exit out of the constraint, select the point, and we see that when we highlight over the coincidental constraint, it is on the line.